Now, Prabhupada quotes in the beginning of the purport the words Ko vichaste gatim atmano yata, uh, which is a quotation from the previous verse, which he's, no, excuse me, Yatato, uh, here, yeah, here he says, not a question. Uh, even a vidvan, one who possesses knowledge, this verse here, um, uh, that person is even himself made a muyate, a fool, a bewildered person, and that he therefore uh, forgets. You know, Prabhupada would say a number of times, a human life is meant for self-realization, the corollary, and not sense gratification. Self-realization, not sense gratification. That's what human life is for, and therefore it's wasted this way. And so, and of course, Prabhupada himself, he came from a country that was quite poor at the time, and came to America and saw immediately just how things that is so difficult in India was so easy here. If you wanted a bank loan, anybody would give you money. If you, it was very easy to make money in America, and so he had that in his mind here, and so Prabhupada mentions this. But he's here. He forgot where I was going now. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, in the previous verse, uh, this is Prahlad. The context is that Prahlad is saying in the previous verse, "My Lord, it is your lordship who gave this Bali the very great opulence of the post of heavenly king, and now today it is you who have taken away. I think you have acted with equal beauty in both ways, because his exalted position as a king of heaven was putting him into the darkness of ignorance. You have done a very merciful favor by taking away all his opulence." And then in this purport to this verse, uh, Prabhupada, the previous verse, he quotes this twice. He mentions it, Yashyaham agrani nami harishye tadjanasanai. Uh, uh, to show them special favor, I take away their opulence. This is from Bhagavatam 10:88:8. Uh, so that's how. So this was, and Prahlad says, you've done him a merciful favor by taking away his opulence. And he says here, why it is bewildering, a learned self-control man forgets to search for the goal of self-realization, but uh, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, uh, sees everything. Uh, and so this is what's happened to Bali. This is uh, we used to call it sometimes heavy mercy. Uh, and so sometimes Krishna has an arrangement. And so uh, and this is the mistake that happens to us here in the present time. Uh, when you actually when you get wealth and riches, it's because of past good deeds or something. But it's karma. It's good karma, and good karma runs out. And when it runs out, you can't do anything. It's just gone now. You've finished. You've been you've been pulling off, taking money out of your bank account. You don't know how much is in there of good karma, but you've got a bank account of good karma, and you've been withdrawing from that, and you just think, oh yeah, this is the way it's going to be. And then one day, there's no money coming out of the cash machine because you've overdrawn your account and you don't have any more money. And why did this happen? What happened? It was all going so very well. And then, you have to get in an airplane and leave in disgrace and go to Florida or something like that. uh, this is the what you need to know. Uh, so Prabhupada says people have entirely given up the path of self-realization. And Prabhupada, when he came here, it was to, again, his mission was to uh, call out this mistake of the Western world. Uh, so one is no one is interested in God. That who is God? What is my relationship with God? And how should I act in that relationship? Those are the three things that we need to know. And Prabhupada says if this kind of civilization continues, the time will soon come when the Supreme Personality of Godhead will take away all material opulences. But then he says, then people will come to their senses. Uh, so it won't be in vain. So we have to give people this chance of this chance of redemption. So here, Prabhupada is, given a little gloss on the words in this verse. Uh, Tak ka vichaste gatim atmana yata ko vichaste gatim atmano yata. That means uh, uh, that indicates that person who can vichaste search for uh, gatim atmano, the progress of the self yata properly. That's the real purpose of human life. Human life is meant for self-realization, and the corollary, not sense gratification. And so the thing people have to understand is that what is what's wrong with sense gratification. Uh, there's a certain amount of sense gratification we can legitimately have. And Prabhupada has defined that for us, of not enough to be healthy. Because you do have to keep your senses in working order. And so that's how much. Just to minimum that you need to keep body and soul together, to be able to function like that. That's how much sense gratification you have. Uh, uh, and because of where the past karma, things may come easy. And I said, you're drawing on a bank account, you don't know how much is in it. Uh, uh, and so that's how much sense gratification you can have to be healthy. Uh, and you can see that the whole progress of modern civilization has been to go further than what you need. And in the process of getting things for sense gratification, uh, we are now seeing the result. Global warming right now, for example, is one of those things. The industrial civilization that um, doesn't regard the welfare of other beings, it eventually comes back on you. And that's what we're facing right now. And the people who have been making money off of this don't really want to do anything about it. And as far as Earth getting overheated, well, we'll have to find another planet to, to mess up, to go there. A reason we're exploring space is to find some other place that after this one is completely trashed. It's been like some horrible fraternity party where everyone is drunk and out of their mind and have wrecked the place entirely. And you just walk out and, look for another house. And I knew people like that. And foot other people with the cleanup bill. But you're not going to get off Earth that easily. It's a fantasy. Uh, and And of course, Prabhupada has given a formula of the correct management of the earth and of natural resources, and living in a proper balance. And so that's what we should come down to sanity. But you have to have I mean, as a human being, you have the sense that there's that you're here for a purpose. This consciousness. I should be doing something important. There's some calling, and the Prabhupada told us. The great slogan: "Human life is meant for self-realization," and the corollary is not sense gratification. How much sense gratification can you have? Enough to be healthy. And so people haven't understood that yet. They don't know how that, Prabhupada used the title Science of Self-Realization. What does it mean when he says science? That it's a procedure that here you follow the instructions and you get the results. That's what a science is. It's a science of self-realization. It's not a science where you do funny things to animals in cages and that kind of thing. But uh, the progress of that science, what means for self-realization, is also given very empirically in the Bhagavad Gita. What are the symptoms of the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance? I think if you start here scientifically, uh, it's explained what is the mode of goodness like, what is the mode of passion like, uh, and what is the mode of ignorance. Our standard of advancement is the standard of the mode of passion. And we also learn in the Bhagavad Gita that the result of the mode of passion is misery. That's what happens because your desires increase. Uh, and the more you satisfy them, the more you want, the greedier you get. And you hit a limit. And in the process of doing that, you do very bad things to other people. You do very bad things to the earth. Uh, and this reaction comes upon you. So our standard of advancement is the standard of the mode of passion, unlimited uh, by progress. When I was a kid, there was it was a General Electric. Remember, progress is our most important product. To us, you know? So there was this believing of progress, and that believing of progress was just material aggrandizement. And we've begun to see what was happening. You know, we began to, the climate crisis was there, began to have shortages of national resources and so on. We aren't living in balance with nature. It's just to exploit more and more, forcing many people into misery so that a few can live in a high style and in a safe, secure place. That's what they're hoping for. This really has to change. Uh, so the mode of passion ultimately ends in misery. When you try to deal with the misery, you go to the mode of ignorance, drugs and intoxication, and suicide is very popular. That's one way of dealing with your miseries, you think, is suicide. So you go to the mode of misery. So that's what's happening. And so when Prabhupada presents us with this science of self-realization, human life is meant for self-realization, uh, that process is also scientific because we have an application. The application is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That's how I once had a professor before I was a devotee. And I was in graduate religious studies, by the way, the academic study of religion. And this professor happened to say, the question isn't whether or not God exists, but is God available? And I thought then, yeah, that's interesting. If God exists and not available, what difference does it make? And if he's available, that answers the existence question. And it was, not that long later that I happened to encounter Krishna devotees and talk to them. And when I found out this idea, how is God available? Very simply, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Here is available in the form of his name. It's sound. It's the subtlest of the elements, but at the same time, it's the most powerful because subtle things are more powerful than gross things. So here's how God is available. I mean, you can't put it. There's three words, Hare, Krishna, and Rama. Everyone can say it. Easy to memorize, the Hare Krishna mantra. So you can carry it around with you everywhere. It's portable. it's so there it is. And then Prabhupada says, okay, now you just start by chanting. But now if you want to release the potencies of the holy name, you have to chant while trying to become free from offenses. And the chanting, the potency of the chanting is that you, it's aligned with these four regulative principles. And that's the big, of course, stumbling block for everybody, these four regulative principles, because when you when you follow the four regulative principles, the potency of the holy name becomes really activated. And when you're following the principles or trying to follow the principles, at least usually when people start, they give up eating meat. And that was in the early days, that was a radical thing to do. When I started chanting Hare Krishna and I gave up meat, uh, my mother, who was a registered nurse her whole life, is appalled that I'm doing this. And then she says, because she thinks you need to eat meat in order to stay alive, to be healthy. That's what people were told. And then she said to me, "Look, if you're not going to eat meat yourself, at least give it to the children. You can't; they won't be healthy if you don't do this." Then years later, my mother said, "Oh, your diet is so healthy." So there had been a change in the general idea of what's healthy and not, because people gradually realized. And that's one of the effects of the things that happen. So it was impossible as a devotee to fly on an airplane because people smoking cigarettes everywhere, all around you. And then there was a smoking section, and now it's not there. So gradually there's some effect, even on people who are not practicing. But the thing to study, practically speaking, is the places in the Bhagavad Gita which describes the mode of passion, the mode of goodness, and the mode of ignorance. And if the chanting is done correctly, then you will see those modes decrease, the passion and ignorance decrease, and the mode of goodness will become predominant. This is scientific. It's provable. Now, but the thing about the chanting is one should chant while trying to give up offenses. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives and the 10 offenses against the holy name. But the one you really have to deal with, and the offense from which all other offenses spring, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is the offense of inattentiveness while chanting. So the idea is to chant and make a vow. People can start with 1 round a day or 2 rounds a day, but make a vow because it's more potent that way. I'll chant so many rounds a day. When you're ready for initiation, you're up to 16 rounds. And then you try to chant while paying attention. And one notices that the mind, at least my mind is terrible. It's crazy. It's nuts. Because the thing of is the mind, where does the mind come from? It came with us from our previous life. When we changed bodies, when we shuffle off the mortal coil, as Shakespeare puts it, you only shuffle off the gross mortal coil, the subtle mortal coil, which is the subtle body, manas, buddhi, and ahankara. That stays with you when you transmigrate. And in the prayers of Queen Kuti, it said the devotional service destroys the subtle body of the living entity, because that's liberation when you don't have that subtle body anymore that you inherited. So we've had that subtle body with us for many lifetimes. We don't know what garbage is in there, but we can notice that the garbage is there because of material desires, either pious or impious, but still material, that desire to enjoy, the desire to be distracted, distracted from distraction by distraction. There's a poem by T.S. Eliot describing the modern world, distracted from distraction by distraction. So many distractions, so many different ways to go things, so many things to look at. We're distracted. So then when you sit down to chant, once you chant with a vow, so many rounds a day, even if it's the beginning, it's 2 or whatever, you sit to chant the holy name, the mind will wander. It will go away. When you notice it goes away, you bring it back. You're chanting on the clearing stage. Because this is the inattentiveness is the offense from which all offenses spring. You chanting, you can immediately come to that stage uh, of chanting while clearing the offenses. And then by chanting that way, uh, gradually the modes of passion and the modes of ignorance will decrease. They will go away. And we have a number of places where it's what are the modes and their symptoms are described. So one should know them like a clinical person knows what's passion and what's ignorance, and we should see them decrease. If they're not decreasing, we're doing something wrong. Uh, you will have good days and bad days. Uh, uh, so sometimes the currents will move your way and sometimes they won't. So uh, now just do your best, stay with it. You slip back, go back again. Don't quit. This is Vyavasa Atmika Buddhi. Uh, this is fixed determination uh, to do this. And by just by striving, we are telling Krishna that we want a relationship. We're calling. And Krishna is available in this form of the mantra. It's a subtle form, fits right in your mouth, right in your mind. There all the you get easy access to it, right? And so this is even demons can become purified uh, 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 by this. And in this way, the misdirected world civilization, as Prabhupada called it, can be rectified. Um, and so, so Prabhupada says here, uh, this is the path of self-realization. He mentions this in the purport, and he blames this mad for material possessions, which are temporary. They don't help you out ultimately, and uh, and he says when they take away all material opulence as well, like Bali Maharaj, okay, it's Krishna's mercy. I hope that Krishna's mercy won't be so happy. we can but he says when that happens, people will come to their senses. For this material culture as a whole, I doubt that many people have yet. They're still trying to figure out other ways, but more becoming realizing, that we're not going to have another planet, and that after we trash this place, we're going to go out to another one to trash. We're going to have to live among our own garbage, and they'll come to that point. But They can't control the senses. And they can't control the senses because their standard of advancement is the standard of mode of passion. And so our our uh, task is to really give people an avenue to come to the mode of goodness, which is required for happiness, and to establish that standard of the mode of goodness. And when people experience, if you go into different places that are arranged by people in the mode of goodness, the first thing you feel is, oh, it's peaceful here. It's peaceful. There's a nice environment, you know. Uh, if you go into religious places that at least some practices there, you can tell right away there's a feeling of peace, of tranquility. Uh, uh, and so it's empirical in the sense that you can experience it. Uh, and the main thing is we have this gift from Srila Prabhupada. That means somebody worked hard to give it to us. And the emblem of that is how much difficulty not only Prabhupada went through to come to the West without any institutional support, but also what Bhakti Siddhanta did, what Bhakti Vinod Thakur did. All these people worked very hard to spread Krishna consciousness. And we have a debt to them. Uh, uh, we have a debt to them, just like, Bali Maharaj to his grandfather Prahlad felt indebted. Bring back to our verses today. And so we should also, if we have some Krishna consciousness, pay back that debt by also carrying on with their work for our own good and for the good of uh, the whole world, human, not just human beings, but everybody on this planet. Okay, I'll stop here and we'll see if there's any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. It was such
Thank
an
you.
enlightening lecture. You touching up on this point of uh, how, because of sense gratification, the world is in such a position, and finally connecting it to your favorite topic, the holy name. We can only imagine how much you are relishing it by the way you're speaking it with such realizations. So, extremely grateful to hear from you about the holy name. Already there are some questions on the chat box, so I would like to know if Athena would like to unmute herself and ask the question personally.
Hare Krishna, Dhampada Pranams. Um, thank you so much for such a wonderful lecture. My first question, I apologize if I'm being very literal or dense, but if you don't mind explaining, how and why does the holy name get activated once you start following the four regulative principles? And also, how does the holy name have more potency if you make a vow? The holy name is the holy name. Does something happen? Does Krishna do something different? Can you explain a little bit more? Thank you so much.
Yeah. There was a German academic once who said, a book is like a mirror. If an ass looks in, no angel will look out. The holy name is full of all potencies, and anything anybody does will help. I mean, but to get those potencies to really work, one has to. Prabhupada said, in the beginning, anybody just chant. You can just chant, and there's something there. But then, if you want to have a relationship with the Holy Name, remember, Nama Chintamani Krishna, the name of Krishna is full of all spiritual opulences. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Purna Shuddha Nityamukto, complete, pure, uh, full of all opulences. Why? abhinatva, because of non-difference between the name and that which is named. So Krishna and Krishna's name are the same. But we have to actually be in a position to approach the holy name properly. There's a proper way to approach this holy name. And that is to, the 10 offenses are offenses against the holy name. If you offend somebody, they're going to keep you a little, at a safe distance, stay over there, you're offensive, at least take a bath first before you come to my house, I don't mean to be, it's just the way I am, but please, just for me, just do this for me, just take a bath, So these kind of things, and why are there no smoking signs in places? Because it's offensive to other people. You have to, no. So you just have to be polite to the holy name. Just say that you care a little bit. I mean, even if some chanting is better than none, but when you start to chant while trying to avoid the offenses, then the holy, you can come closer to the holy name. And then by that closeness, you begin to feel the influence of the holy name, and it begins to change us. So I think it's not like it's staying away from people or anything like that, but just there's certain things that are necessary to approach the holy name. What else did you have? I hope, is that okay?
I was also wondering, why does it have more potency if you make a vow? Does also there, what happens there?
I'm not sure. Prabhupada just said it's more potent when you chant with a vow. It's like it's a committed relationship. You're making, a man and a woman can live in together, and that's okay. But then when they actually take vows to be faithful to each other, as in a marriage arrangement, it's more solid arrangement, a more solid relationship. So when you've made a vow to the holy name, that relationship has become solid, more. Yeah, I mean, it's just like together. You showed the holy name that you really care, and there's reciprocation. Remember, Krishna and Krishna's name are the same, so there's reciprocation. This is how God is available.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Can I ask another question, probably?
Mm-hmm.
Say, for example, now I realize, okay, I'm not supposed to commit offenses, but I've already messed up. It's like I have all kinds of categories of offenses covered. So then where do we again start? Because it sometimes looks in spiritual life like, okay, there's a lot happening. Like, where do I clean my slate and start again, fresh?
Yeah, I really believe the offense from which all others spring. I think this is from Bhakti Vinod Thakur, is this inattentiveness while chanting. So, not to chant year round is already neglect. It's a kind of the consummate inattentive. So, so then one has to make a vow and keep it. And if you've slid off the chanting, again, start again. And okay, I'm not. I've been up and down on my rounds. I make a fixed vow to chant at least so many a day, and then I keep increasing. Now, if we've been initiated and taken initiation vows, then it's very important because to break a vow is that's fairly serious. uh, to make a vow in front of the deities, in front of the spiritual master, in front of the congregation. That's quite a, you're promising everybody, and you break a promise. So that's even more serious. But even if you're not initiated, still it's best to make a vow that you can follow. And so, you start off, okay, I'm going to chant 4 rounds a day, and keep that vow, because it's more important to be steady than it is to, like, some days do some days do none, to the 4. When you've got that down, then increase the next level, and ultimately get to 16 rounds. Which was the one that Prabhupada set for us. Otherwise, 64 is some places is the standard. So this is what we should do.